operator that will be unavailable. FURIA will then do the same, followed by a defender, with TSM rounding out the ban phase with that final defender. It's going to be Thatcher that's gone first, and I would expect to see a Hatch player go next, a Maverick or Hibana.
It probably would go that way. We've seen double hard breach bans coming through on this map. It's going to be the Hibana. I'm sure many of you are very aware by now if you played Siege at all in the last 18 months. But she does now have the ability to, of course, use 2, 4 or 6 pellets when opening things up, making her what Ubi described as the direction for her as the Queen of Hatches. Because using 4 is enough to open up a hatch, with 18 in pocket, you can open up 4 hatches, so very good on this map. Mira we've also seen be pretty strong, especially employed by a few teams. When we first saw the reworks of the bar and stage area coming in, the site itself, Mira was being employed up on the top floor to hold down things like construction, hold jacuzzi walls, so that became quite an effective place to play on this map. I think with Mira offline, you're not going to see it getting brought along here, and Valkyrie being the final ban, we've already said this several times, she is just an instant man at this competition.
Well, we've seen Valkyrie used a couple of times, you know, in recent history, not necessarily here at the Invitational over the last couple of days, but on coastline it's generally to try and coordinate vertical nitros into places like Kitchen. You know, you've got that visual then, so you can pre-place and you can say, yep, they're on the spot, bang, there you go, and you're getting those cheap kills. So yeah, it's just sort of a more direct alternative to somebody like having to play a Pulse underneath there who needs to constantly sit on his heartbeat scanner to feed that information. It's just an alternative. As it stands, we're going to be heading to Church and Arsenal to begin with. It's going to be all the way down in the basement. TSM are on the defence, and I'm interested to see, I don't think we're going to have much of a roam presence from them here. Looking at the operator line out that they've brought, there's no denial for drones whatsoever, no Mute, no Mozzie. We've got the Kaid, which suggests they're going to be reinforcing all those hatches and trying to keep them closed. So we may have one off out on the roam, but I wouldn't expect to see it sort of committed to too heavily.
I'm liking that we're seeing the Ashe being brought along. It's not all that often that you get to see her these days. You've seen it once or twice yesterday, but Fantasy straight on that. Ashe main, lots of brain I'm hoping to see in this round. You've seen or heard of things called the Ashe Rush Wall. It's where you can charge in down the main stairs, get the wall to your left opened up, and you're essentially straight inside of sight. Thank you very much there, Sayana. Off towards the left there, that like slightly plastered wall at the very end. That's the one. Charging to Arsenal, and you can get a plant down at the very back. So keep a close eye for some cheeky plays like that, because as we've already seen from Fantasy, he's the kind of guy who will make that sort of play.
Interestingly, we'll catch it, I'm sure, as the round continues. I'm not sure there's a rotation from Blue Corridor into Church. Thank you very much, Sayana, for it. No, there is not. We've got peak holes opened up. There is a rotation instead into Armory, which will effectively do the same job. A player can play in there and challenge into Moto, but it's going to be fascinating to see whether that plays any part in this, because the absolute stock standard is the rotation back into Church. Kill is going to come in. The opener will go to Eyes. He's going to take down Charla. That's the Kaid gone. I'm not sure exactly how he's been exposed there and been able to find that kill, but Merc is up on the top floor, pretty much a solo roaming presence, and he's getting hunted down by a Lender. If he just holds his horses for a minute, Rare is just coming to support as well. This is a full pinch. He's in trouble.
He gets droned, he's dead here. I mean, whiffs a few shots, but still finds the kill, and is still being pressured. There's one behind. Does he know about it? Getting shot through the soft wall, looking out towards the window. Does he know? He's sat on the drone, and finally Rare swings in. There was a 3-man pinch, and it took him a fair while to kill him out. Losing one, you'll be saying that's a bad outcome for FURIA.
Yeah, I mean, I have got to, because you've got one pushing into logistics. I thought they knew exactly where he was. They started spraying through the soft wall. I think you've got the pinch on. Merc can't move. He's backed into a corner, but obviously FURIA didn't actually have eyes on him, so as Lender went in, he looked left instead of right. He just knew that he was somewhere in construction, and as you can see, those are the small margins that we're dealing with. There's somewhere in construction versus a pinpoint call out can be the difference between life and death.
Massively so. Here they're howling it back up them on the main stairs. Now they've got themselves a little bit of intel on what's going on the below. Highs. This is the beauty of playing on the buckets. You can, of course, play at range here. Play inside a bar where you're on solid floor. You cannot be C4'd very easily. Going to get the hallway opened up, essentially in its entirety, and then look towards use that to inform where they should go next. We've also got Moto being opened up by the Maverick. so keep an eye on when those grenades start to rain in. I'm looking at the ones mainly on the Maverick, given the Iana has fell off a little bit here. It's going to be Highs finding another. He is on a tear today.
Oh, just exposing himself to that vertical angle there. Got to be more careful. You can't be shoving your face under a hole in kitchen floor like that. You've got to expect that somebody's going to be watching it. It leaves them now in a 2 versus 4. Geo's trying to hold down blue, and FURIA are starting to push from every which way, Des. They've got Moto, they've got bottom of main stairs. Fantasy's got Geo. Achieved has to step forward to try and get blue. It was a terrible time to try and change weapons. It was just unlucky timing for him. He didn't know that the player was necessarily going to step in at that point. It wasn't actually Fantasy who got the kill. It was Rare from inside of Church managed to use the soft walls and the holes that had been opened up to do so. Achieved. He was between a rock and a hard place, realistically. There was very little that he could do, but he knew that it was a short-range engagement, so a little surprised to see him moving off the shotgun. But nevertheless, FURIA, they take the round. It's going to be 1-0.
Gym Bedroom, the next one we step into. Great start for FURIA as well. The only kill that went against them was that one on the top floor from Merc. Otherwise, they completely cleared out the site. 4-0. Dominant start. Now we'll see how they fare off going into what many consider the offsite on this map. Gym Bedroom for the side of TSM, changing away from the Clash onto the Wamai. There's also a 6-pick coming in on the other side. Lender going back over to that Iana once again, wanting to keep those grenades in pocket. Flores could be the interesting addition to this lineup, though, looking at it. We spoke already about the Flores being banned away in the last map and just how impactful it can be. 4 of those Rotero drones very good at removing utility, and when the enemy team is bringing along Jaeger, Wamai, Goyo, what's the best tool for the job? Well, there's no mute, so those Roteros are going to be absolutely perfect. So we'll follow Fantasy, keep a close eye on where those drones go and what damage they cause, because they could be pivotal to FURIA winning this round.
TSM setting up a pretty hard hold of the east side here. We've got Goyo shields, 2 of them. We've got ADSs, we've got Wamai magnets, we've got reinforcements there. They are holding on to this like it's the site itself. They really do not want that pressure coming in from the windows and from the east side. FURIA look for the time being like they are likely to play into it instead of potentially just heading over to the jacuzzi wall. It's a more difficult push, but it would circumvent a lot of utility here.
It's a real throwback to the utility meta, isn't it? Seeing Goyo shields, Wamai and Jaeger together, it's just a nightmare. But with no mute on side, it should mean they'll be able to get things opened up pretty quickly. And look at all this juicy utility. He's going to ignore the stuff here and go for another shield. So Achieved just seeing all those wonderful shields slowly taken away from him. You can see the east side of the map on fire right now as 2 of them have been removed away. Bolo rotating himself down in towards Garage, hoping to catch someone out getting a bit cheeky. Doubt he fancies to run out, but it's enough to put some pressure on the side of FURIA, who could be fearful that anyone could run out at a moment's notice.
That's it, it's just enough to make him think about it. Now Bolo is potentially thinking about a run out. He gets seen, it's just so easy for Fantasy Des. He gives them the 1-2 combo, it's lights out as he finds Bolo and Achieved. Great play from down on the ground. Fantasy really able to catapult FURIA into this round. And Des, I don't want to get carried away, but TSM look like a different side in these first 2 rounds.
It's almost like Clubhouse ain't one of their best maps. It's not even so much they got the bad ideas, they're just not aware, for example, of the small things like Fantasy potentially stepping outside that door and waiting off to the right rather than always being on the left. It's a depth of playtime maybe on the map. I'm not saying they're bad at it, but compared to FURIA, they're just a couple of steps behind because they are cleaning house right now. It's a 5 versus 1. There's a flawless round on the way here. Oh, my man.
I feel for Merc.
I feel for him because there is no way out.
He just let down to die. He knew that there was absolutely nothing that he could do. FURIA furious in that round, and I'm concerned for TSM, Des, because it's like, yeah, Clubhouse might not be your map, but Clubhouse is a staple map of this competitive scene at the minute. You've got to be able to play it. And they're really struggling on the defence here so far. I hope that they find their feet and find their way into this a little bit. But, you know, FURIA are able to really dismantle them there. It was impressive. Particularly the 1-2 from Fantasy was very nice. The flick up onto Achieve, particularly through the east barricade, which had been open. But, you know, all the utility that they piled towards the east side there as well. It shows, I wanted to comment at the time, but it all kicked off. It shows how powerful the Flores is. 2 Roteros go in and clear out the 2 Goyos. 1 Rotero more, they didn't need to do it, they didn't choose to, but 1 Rotero just in through that drone hole would also have taken out 3 Wamai magnets and 2 ADSs. Like, the entire setup would have been gone from 3 Rotero drones. Like, that's wild.
You can see why it was banned away on the last map.
Yeah, it's just so powerful.
It's a similar story on Villa when you're attacking into Aviator gains and there's going to be a shield up on the Aviator table. Like, it's free. Just get rid of that. You can get rid of the drones that are there. You can get rid, sorry, the mute jammers that are there. You can get rid of the ADSs. It's just such a valuable operator. We keep on saying it, but that's just because it is. Let's see how things go there now. We've moved down a little bit again. Let's see what the changes look like here for TSM. They've gone away from playing with all that kind of anti-utility setup. No Jaeger, no Wamai in sight, no Goyo in sight. It is a full change-up for their second defense of basement.
As you say, we've got Gio over on the strip side now, just choosing to get out into the map a little bit more. It wasn't something that they found too much success with last time. It was the one kill that they got came from Merc up on the top floor. But FURIA, as always, they're starting at the top and they're going to work their way down. Bolo is up there on the Legion, so he's going to need clearing out. There's half of the wall been left soft on Jacuzzi, which will allow for pretty quick entry if FURIA choose to go in that direction. But just one reinforcement just trying to protect that corridor. But Bolo's going to dip down. Look at this. Fantasy's already in blue. He's going to find one. Lender gets another. FURIA just running roughshod over TSM right now. It's up to Achieve to stand up and try and be the full stop to just stop FURIA coming in and shutting them down. But there's 2 kills alongside. It's all up to Gio. It's 3 versus 1. Fantasy with Diffuser in hand. He's down there in the basement. They can think about a plant here.
Depends where he's coming pushing in from, mind you. Gio suspecting someone's going to come pushing up from oil, and he's got the right idea, because that's where Fantasy is sat. But he can rotate out, push his way through dirt. And I was about to comment on how interesting the setup was that they got an electrified strip wall to try and slow FURIA down. But all they did was say, let's go a little bit faster. Gio finding him at range, getting the shutdown diffuser has been dropped. Rotates out through pipes. He's now stepping up into the longer hallway. Miracle retrieving the diffuser is going to push back onto site. Has got to be careful of the cross here as well. Loses out. How have they done this? They're almost throwing it away. Lender needs to win the 1v1. But Gio, he's calculated everything down to this moment. A 3v1, 2a1 versus 1. Diffuser will go down and Gio knows where. If Lender doesn't look left now, he might find himself shot in the backside. Gio! Of the main hallway. Another mistake being made. They'll live to rue that one. They'll live to rue it. But either way, they're still in the lead. Things aren't looking too shabby yet for the side of FURIA. Go back up onto arguably I'd say, one of the most well-known sites in the game of Cash and CC. FURIA here, the Flores returns once again. It did so much work previously and all in good time because Bolo is bringing along the Goyo.
That's it, they've got the Goyo, so they've shields to clear out. Gio on the Kaid as well is going to try and make it difficult, but probably to open the East Breach. He may choose to play them on the Garage Catwalk, the Electricals, just to try and, yep, that's exactly where they're going to go. So they're going to leave, are they going to leave the East Breach, or is he just going to electrify one of them? It looks like they're maybe just going to electrify one and leave the other. Interestingly, they've left half of the bottom garage wall soft as well. I'm not sure where that other reinforcement is going to have been used, but by leaving that one soft, they allow quick access to FURIA. That's the wall that you would usually try and breach to get into garage, get underneath Catwalk and start throwing things up on there. But with Bolo playing on the Goyo, he's probably down in Lounge, a hole in the wall between Lounge and garage, and he's going to look to challenge on. He's actually deeper in blue at the minute, doesn't have a shield set up right now, but the hole has been opened up, so he's looking to make a challenge from that side, but I think it's a little bit risky, this defense.
First Rotero gets eaten. You got Charla and Mert watching that drone hole like a hawk, just waiting for the next one to come through. He's going to try the second one now and force its way through, see what he can try and find. Getting a run-up, actually. Oh, no. Okay, he tried to get it through the breach, but it's still electrified, so he just lost the second Rotero.
Yeah. They'll get that cleared off before long. Fantasy takes a view through, knows that there's a man playing on the shield, just looking out of the cash door. Not going to get an opportunity to land any shots onto him. We're a minute in, we've got the rotation open. That will allow the Rotero drones to come in and start trying to clear those shields out. Gio, he's going to head back onto the Catwalk for the time being. Interestingly that they've reinforced both panels from Catwalk through into server.
Yeah, normally you see at least head-level holes open up, right? So you can challenge through when someone's getting control of Catwalk, or even challenge through onto the breach itself. Not that it matters, as Lender has started things off. This time it's Mert going down. That Wamai taken out quite early will mean the team miss out on 3 or 4 of those magnets. A second one flies through. A 5 versus 3 sets in for FURIA, and now TSM will start to feel the pressure.
Charla taking damage. Achieve does manage to find Miracle, and it's Achieve time and time again that keeps getting them back into these rounds. He's the one that seems to step up and find a kill when needed most. He's on the Legion in basement, and he's trying to make his way back up the blue stairs, then potentially red stairs, to get himself back into sight and back in the fight. But for the time being, FURIA are looking to pressure construction side. They've got the CCTV window open as well, potentially looking for a plant inside of there, and Achieved is inside a garage. I'm not sure how aware they are of his presence here at the minute, but he's going to have to make a move because Lender's found a nade onto Charla, Lender's found Geo. He's just absolutely cutting through them at the minute. Rare is planting, and Achieved, he's in no man's land. There's absolutely no chance he can impact on this. Gets one, but now they know exactly where he is. There's a man watching that Achieved. You're going to have to go somewhere else.
It's come down to a point, I think, where Lender having a 3k is more than enough to secure the round. High's watching on red. They're ready if he comes pushing up garages. Lender is holding the window. It's like we said earlier on, you can't do much from garage here as the defender's trying to retake, because all you got to work with is the window. High's getting the shutout. Another great round coming in for FURIA, who you would run about bar and stage that we likely wouldn't see it picked up because the mirror's been banned away. Well, TSM have proved me wrong, and they've got their own ideas for this site. They are relying very heavily on the intel game, though. You've got the Echo coming along, and you've got the Maestro. On top of that, Bolo, yet to find himself on the scoreboard, is also bringing along the Castle. Castle normally used when you think of the SSG roam, for example, but here, I'm always excited to see how teams are still innovating on what they're doing. Achieved is already electrified off strip. They did this once earlier on when defending inside of the basement. And here I think the goal is, again, just slow them down. You can play inside a strip because they've got a rotation through into it. Just playing very spread, very lateral across the ground floor rather than worrying about the upstairs.
That's it. We've got Merc up there. We would expect at least some attention to be paid. We've got the electrical just preventing access in through that construction reinforced wall. Bolo's going to castle off, so there's probably going to be a presence of at least 1 or 2 players on the top floor. You can deny most of the common plant spots from up there, so FURIA may want to clear that out, but they're going to have quite a lot of work ahead of them. As you say, they're really spread out here. 3 on the top floor, 1 over in strip, Charla behind the bar. There's certainly a lot of ground to cover for FURIA, but to be honest, the strip side they could kind of ignore.
I mean, they're probably going to. It wouldn't be hard to take because they've opened it up like Swiss cheese inside of there at this point, Tim. Everything's opened up. You get inside strip, you've got access to a lot of the areas around it off that basis alone. It's just that the main wall can't be opened up, but they've got Jacuzzi open at this point. They've got to deal with Bolo, who's hanging up there. Geo's off to the far right, and Merc, I believe, is just lay down inside of stock and looking to cause a little bit of trouble. Let's see how it plans out, because no doubt his top floor control is going to be pivotal. That's exactly why you've got Highs, Lender and Fantasy all now looking to work their way through this top floor and pressure these members of TSM out.
Logistics hatch open, Merc opening a rotation just to allow them to escape back into bedroom. And as you say, the bullets already pinging into the walls as FURIA are getting in there aggressively and looking to move TSM back at every step of the way. Lender, he's already in construction practically. He's looking to aggress forward here, and the opening kill is not far away. You feel Merc's going to take a bit of damage there. He's got 2 angles that he's trying to watch. Fantasy working the windows and Rare over on the Jacuzzi wall. Fantasy's now going to be sending in the Rotero drones, just clearing out utility ahead of them as they go. Is he going to get shot out? Yes, Merc manages to put the Alder to work and clear that one out, but information has been gained, if nothing else. Bolo with a kill onto Fantasy. Rare manages to get one of his own and a trade onto Bolo. That's 2 for the Thermite, 4 versus 3 very quickly.
That's exactly what you want as well, because now the top floor starts to run thin, and there's the clear. Highs finding yet another, and Achieve just beelines it back downstairs, hovering around the basement here on main stairs, but sight is essentially clear. Charla's out towards strip at this point, so FURIA have got the full run at the mill. They can do whatever they want from this point, including try and go for a plant as long as they can hold those angles off. Achieved is now lost in Narnia downstairs. Charla unmoving still, so again, control to FURIA.
The main stairs is super important for this site as well, because it's just going to cut off any rotation back across to try and impact on this plant that's going down. It's going to be rare to lock it in. Charla cannot move across that main door. There you go. The kill comes in from Lender. Simple as that from FURIA. So much map control, every angle covered, and just they are crossing every T, dotting every I. Everything is FURIA's here.
On the attack of Clubhouse as well. They're making it look easy at this point, Tim.
It's a speed run any percent.
It basically is, yeah. They've dropped the one round that everyone will look at and say, they shouldn't have won that. It should be 5-0 to FURIA right now, but at least for TSM, they've got one more round to get something on the board. Is a 4-2 split to the attackers what you want at the half? No. Is it what you'll take when it's the only thing left on the cards? Sure.
Okay then, TSM, now's the time. You got to lock down that basement. You cannot rely on another Geo 1v3. You got to keep yourself alive. They're just dying so early in the round as FURIA are able to come in and almost kill them at will. If you remember, Fantasy last time pushed into blue 30 seconds into the round. It was a real old school Ash rush, just straight down into there and got himself the opening kill. That time it was on, I don't record who it was on to actually. I missed that one because it was so quick.
Speed
TSM, I'm sort of surprised. We've got Bolo on the Legion, we've got the Malusi. I just want to sort of try and figure out where those are being used, the Gumans, the Banshee. You know, how are you trying to slow FURIA down here? Because it didn't work last time.
It didn't work very well, did it? They could try their very best, and ultimately it was that kind of rush-based play. Once they saw the extension into Strip and knew that we had Charla playing out that far, it was like, hey, let's just go for it. They're not going to go for the same thing again just yet, I don't think, although they are reinforcing it off. They're really swearing by this wall being electrified.
I mean, they want it electrified, Des. I'm never one to say that something's wrong because lots of other teams don't do it.
For sure, for sure.
But
it's not been a focus.
Nobody else does that.
And no one, they've not tried to push into Strip, they've never droned it out. They've just pretended, like many people do on this map, that Strip just simply doesn't exist.
And TSM aren't getting anything from it. You know, if you remember NIP the other day, they played Pino up in logistics. It's a bit different. We don't see it all the time. But it worked. It was, you know, it was great. They got something out of it. But this is the thing, TSM I just don't really see getting much out of this. Merc is going to get something out of Highs. He manages to find a kill to take the book down, and that's a big operator to be taken out here.
Arguably your favourite outside of the hard breaches, although Rare had already done a little bit of opening work. You remove the man that's responsible for doing all the vertical destruction. They've got to lean on Fantasy now and those breaching rounds coming out of the Ash to open up enough holes in the floor for them to do work. But he's only got one charge left, so if you ask me, it's looking a little bit miserable as far as vertical play is concerned, which means they can't restrict the defenders as much on the site downstairs. Great first pick, and let's see how that impacts FURIA.
Yep, it will leave them a little bit thin on the ground. Bolo just trying to challenge those main stairs still. We've got Geo established inside of Strip. He's going to pretty much get himself cut off at this point, though, as Merc drops back to site. As soon as Bolo tries to return, that's going to then be difficult for Geo to find his way back. Fantasy has pushed down into blue. Does he know that there's one to the right-hand side of him? Charla will know of his presence because he triggers the Malusi Banshee as he gets a little bit too close to the wall. The yellow pin goes out just to signal to his team that that's the case, and this is it. Geo is found out inside a Strip. They're well aware of his position here, and his days may be numbered as FURIA's eyes turn towards him.
So finally they're thinking, okay, now we've got to start paying some form of attention because the guy who clutched up big last time is out in Strip by himself. They made us choose to go towards site and have a drone watching him because realistically, there's only one or two ways he can come out. He can push down through the hallway or he can rotate through into pool. There is no other way he gets involved back in this map, and in fact, Rare has got a drone sat just there watching. They will see him come back to site no matter what, and that's exactly what Highs will do. He'll sit on that flank drone. He is essentially not a part of this round for now.
Charla was so unfortunate there. We missed it. Miracle!
No!
Miracle just taking a reflex shot, and he takes Lender down in the main corridor. That could have been the round-winning moment for FURIA, but it falls apart, and then more damage is done as Fantasy hits Rare as he takes the kitchen drop. He's trying to get that diffuser down. 2v3, there's still an opportunity. Fantasy's going to go for it. Rare's on the cover, but he has only got one bullet in him to take, and there comes the first kill for TSM. Probably going to win them out the round now, as it's 1v2. There it comes from Geo, and it was a little bit messy from FURIA on that attack. But Charla, I just want to come back to it. It was easy to miss, but he was super unlucky. He was on the shield and he was watching blue corridor, and we only noticed on the silhouette that he actually turned 90 degrees towards kitchen hatch at the exact second that the man walks across single door into blue and is able to then just walk in through the rotation. It was so unlucky that he missed Miracle coming in, and that round could have been very difficult. If Miracle doesn't hit Lender, and if Fantasy doesn't hit Rhea, and if FURIA can stop killing each other, then, you know,
that'd be great.
That'd be great. Maybe they win the round.
No, I don't think they would have as well, because if Lender stays alive in the hallway, he stops the rotate down main stairs that ultimately kills Fantasy whilst he's going in for the plant. So, again, I'll touch on it. It's a couple of rounds in that half that I don't feel TSM won. I feel FURIA lost to themselves. And I know one of them was a big playoff Geo. We're not trying to take that away from him. But those round losses were preventable for FURIA. they could be up 6-0 right now on this map if those couple of missteps hadn't happened.
Yep, I'd have to agree with you. It's going to be Church and Arsenal then. FURIA will just be looking to write off that last round. It happens, it's not the end of the world. It's one of those situations that's going to occur. If you fire enough bullets, eventually one or two of them are going to hit your teammates. I mean, it was a great reaction from Miracle.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't blink. He was straight onto it. He was just in the zone at that point.
I wish I could flick like that subconsciously.
There was a shape.
Think about it.
There was a shape and he shot it. It just turned out to be his teammate. So, Church and Arsenal, we're going to have a top floor presence. It's the Mutant Mozzie combo.
Joined by the Kaid. This is different. So what they've actually gone for is rather than just jamming off the wall, because since the change to mute where his jammer is now spherical rather than being cylindrical, spherical for those who get that reference, it now means they can keep the wall closed off a little bit easier. They'll have to get themselves on towards the south side wall, try and find out the Electro Claw, which ain't going to be an easy task. And Merc is the first one to find a kill. Down goes the Mozzie. That is not ideal.
Is this the point for TSM? Did they just need to get themselves onto attack to start picking FURIA apart? 5 versus 4, and as you say, the clearance of that top floor roam is underway. Fantasy gone. Lender is going to stay in position, opens the hatch just to give himself an escape route. High's watching garage door, just dips away at the wrong time there. May have got himself one had he hung around, but couldn't because the east breach has been opened up, and TSM just stalled out a little bit. They've got that opening kill, but they haven't pushed into the map yet. Lender is going to take the opportunity to drop away. The top floor roam, you're really looking for it to sort of hold on for 1.5 to 2 minutes. That's what you're looking to waste up there, and FURIA have just had to push back a little bit before that.
Just a smidge. But it's about forcing out these players in the top floor, which does require you choosing one side and working your way across, and it looks to be out towards the east. Bolo's starting to charge his way across here on the right side of the map. So what do all of FURIA do? They move their way across to the left, down the main stairs where there is no pincer waiting for them, and safely get themselves back on site. So the majority of FURIA are now back. It's Miracle who's sat out inside of dirt. So TSM really are chasing ghosts here across the top floor. Most of the team has already retreated far, far away, and it's now just about the clearance thing for TSM. So yes, we've seen FURIA lose a member, but they've also wasted about 2 minutes.
That's it, and TSM, they need to be getting themselves down onto that mid-floor, really. It's about opening hatches, it's about opening vertical angles, because at this point in time, it's going to take them about 30-40 seconds to gain the access to site that they need to complete stage 2, essentially, which is getting your access and clearing out your utility, opening up that plant spot and having an opportunity to put it down. I would expect another 20 to 30 seconds of work for them, which means they're coming in with only 20 to 30 seconds left. It gives them one opportunity, realistically, to get that diffuser down, or it's going to become a massive scramble. FURIA, they're locked into sight, all 4 of them down there, one in dirt tunnel, one in blue. They're watching every direction, every angle. This is not going to be easy for TSM from here.
I think Lender just tickled at Achieve's feet there as he ran out of kitchen and moved his way down towards dirt. They are trying to get this kind of multifaceted attack on the go. An early smoke canister coming down inside of blue when there's no one really pressing in there just yet, it looks like. In fact, there is now someone there looking to step their way forward. Merc down main stairs, he's going to press in and try and find one. Charla finds a double in the round after being pretty quiet so far, but he hasn't completed this. They are on the scoreboard. In comes Achieve for another. It's all going wrong for FURIA. It's Highs left in a 1 versus 4, and he can't stop this plant going down. It will get finished off by Geo. In fact, it's Achieve getting the kill just before that ticks through, and TSM take another round and start closing that gap, Tim.
Well played from TSM there. Very nicely getting down there. They didn't have a lot of time to work with necessarily, but 10 seconds left. They're in there getting that diffuser down, managed to find their kills. Rare gave him a little bit of a freebie there. He knew that Church Wall was open. You can't be strafing across it like that. He just wasn't ready to take a challenge, and Charla getting a very important kill that really opened up the round, because as you saw then, FURIA had to try and react to that because the plant spot was unmanned at that point. Rare was not in position to be able to deny a plant attempt, so FURIA had to try and move. They had to try and shoot through soft walls, just do anything they could, and it all got a little bit frantic on the defensive side. But that is a big boost for TSM, and TSM fans out there, I think they're going to be breathing a sigh of relief at this point, Des. It looked rough for them coming in to those first 4 rounds, but they've just started to show a little bit of a better understanding, a little bit of a better performance here on Clubhouse over the last couple of rounds, and you feel like there is a fight in them now.
Charla may have got the 2 complete in that last round of the downs. I'm not quite sure which way it works, but he did get a double kill in the last round, even though right now it says he is 0-6. So before we all pile on Charla, Let's remember, he's still having an impact, it just isn't necessarily being reflected in the scoreboard, at least for him. It's being attributed to other members of his team right now, based on the way the kills work and the kill credit being changed to kills on down members going to the original player that put them down in the first place. It's going to be a repeated defense out of FURIA. Near identical setup, again with the Kaid looking upstairs. I believe Rare is electrifying that wall from below, with the Mute and Mozzie playing up on the top floor. So yes, it is the same again. The key difference, hopefully, is that Fantasy does not get picked off too early into the round.
That's it, the top floor clearance from TSM was actually really good last time around. They just got in there, forced them back. Like you say, 1 minute 40, they were dropping back to site. And FURIA really need to try and hold on for a little bit longer than that. But TSM, once they get that control, we just want to see them move a little bit quicker towards getting themselves onto site as well, and just being a little bit more confident that they've got that map cleared out. But Highs, he's going to be pushed back for the time being into Cash. He was playing in CCTV originally. He's just going to start collapsing back. The hatches are open so he can drop away when he feels he needs to. Lender and Fantasy already have Des, and this is going to be super quick from TSM here. They're inside the first minute and they've already got 2 of the roamers pushed back.
It's good, I think, for FURIA to even draw back. Yes, you've only wasted 60 seconds, but you're not really going to say no to that. And I've kind of thought what the game plan is here. They make it a bit easier to open up the Cash wall because they don't electrify it. And TSM look at that and go, okay, Jacuzzi wall, electrified, reinforced, there's jammers down the stairs, for example, there's lots working against us. Let's just not bother. Let's instead push all our attention out towards the east, and that's where FURIA stick things like the Banshees up on stairways. So, really interesting sort of encouragement by FURIA and trying to direct TSM's attention that so far seems to be working. We're at that 90-second mark. No one yet going down, but TSM are starting to get into position. They're pressuring around blue, looking down towards Highs, playing behind Stack, and my small concern for him is there's no Jaeger, there's no Wamai, it could be some freebies, but first it's Fantasy collecting his free prize, and he finds it achieved.
Great little Nitro from Fantasy there to just open things up. Exactly what you feel FURIA needed. Lender's going to double down and find one onto Bolo. 5 versus 3. Kitchen hatch has been opened, but blue is now in FURIA control without too much of a challenge coming in from that side, so they can confidently look towards the hatch drop rather than worrying too much about the other side of the map. Fantasy, look how aggressively he's playing under this hatch in Moto. He's just looking to catch the man out as that gets opened up. He doesn't care. He's not moving, Des. He's just going to wait until that thing pops. He's going to drop back, get a longer angle, but Charla needs to be careful.
He does. We've seen a couple of almost very cheeky kills through hatches being opened, or even just holes opened up by a Maverick earlier on today. Fortunately, none that stung too much, but enough that would have done some big damage. Of course, those nades being taken away from Maverick. Not one you want to be losing when you're coming round to the execute. Charla was still one in back pocket. Geo drops in right into the face of FURIA through the rotation hole, and it's an easy closeout. Charla coming down for the trade. Merc into another, but there's a 2 versus 3. Fantasy into another, into a third, and closes it out in round 8. FURIA back in control.
FURIA get themselves that 2-round lead again, 5-3 now, and that could be a slippery slope for TSM to find themselves on. If FURIA can start locking out defences here like they did attacks, this one's going to be over very, very quickly. 5-3 now, and they're going to head to their second choice site, which is going to be gym and bedroom for FURIA. We're heading onto the west side of the map. We will expect to see a strong east side presence, much the same as TSM did. TSM, they need to work on that top floor clearance just as well as they did back in round 7. They were able to manipulate FURIA's defense, force them out of positions very, very well. They need to do that with the east stairs, not take too long over it, get the breach open, get in there and get control.
Righty, over to gym and bedroom then again. The off-site many would consider. Let's see what FURIA are made of up here. Change away from the tactics they've employed so far that often saw Kaid, Mute and Mozzie, for example. We've got Fantasy going across to playing on the Jaeger, so they do have some util catching ability, and High stepping across onto the Aruni, which serves a number of purposes. One, she's just a bulletproof, great gadget to bring along in the first place, but two, she just kind of function as an extension towards a Mute and a Mozzie, a Jaeger and a Wamai. You can chuck nades through into, of course, the lasers to destroy them, but it does consume the utility in the process. And rather than throwing in grenades or losing 30 HP charging through them, chances are you're just going to throw a nade or a flash or a projectile of some kind in through there to clear it out.
FURIA choosing to reinforce both sides as we would expect. Jacuzzi wall, we've got a single on bathroom, we've got east wall. So yeah, pretty standard setup. They're going to try and hold on to the majority of the top floor. Interestingly, 2 deployable shields at the top of red stairs. One for any challenge coming from the stairs itself, and one for the challenge coming in from the breach. One is a Goyo shield. I believe the other might be a standard shield. It is indeed. My eyes do not deceive me, Des.
I'd hope not, mate. Even with your glasses off, you're still seeing pretty well.
It's only when it's siege utility. I can't see anything else. I can see whether a deployable shield's Goyo or not from the front side because I watch that much siege, but yeah, I can't see much else.
Well, that's the important detail to have caught in that situation, good sir. That's where the focus comes in. Now we've got ourselves on the Jacuzzi breach that's also been opened up by Geo.
Quick progress.
It is pretty quick progress, all inside 60 seconds, yes. Rare looking to be a bit of a troublemaker. Knows that someone is outside the window. It was achieved who's already stepped inside meat, so not going to be able to find him, unfortunately, unless he chooses to come and rotate out of this spot. There's one more on the downstairs inside the bathroom. Rare is waiting, daring this man to come stepping in, but TSM a little too diligent with 3 members now on drones, hoping to catch him out before any 2 crazy plays start coming in.
Bolo on his almost trademark Sophia at this point is going to push round from bathroom, take out the default cam, and Rare's just missed his opportunity there if he wanted to spring out of main stairs and have some impact, but Bolo's going to just claymore off the hatch. He might well head back towards main stairs to look to challenge it, but with those concussive grenades, he's going to be careful. I think he knows that there's somebody playing up there. Rare, he wants to peek this stairs, he wants to look, he's going to back out, he's not going to go for it. Highs manages to take a lot of damage there. I'm not sure where that's coming from, but it's about 95 HP gone, and he needs to be careful now inside of construction, just trying to hold down the windows, but anything, he's a breath away from death. It's not going to take much. Here comes a nade to try and clear out Rare. It's not going to. He gets very lucky. He manages to find one on the peak, but Polo with an immediate trade.
A nice trade coming in. I mean, the fact that he got a kill there despite TSM knowing that he's been there for the last 30 seconds or so really speaks volumes for Rare's ability to get something out of a situation that looked pretty dire. 4 versus 4, 35 seconds on the clock, and TSM starting to run thin on the drone and the intel game too. So a lot of it's going to come down to this heads-up play of landing shots they need to. Fantasy and Highs are both on a slither of HP. Merc has gone down, another one finished off, so it's down to Charla all by himself. It's going to be enough. Miracle with 2 massive kills, and FURIA find themselves moving up to 6 rounds. It's 6-3.
Too easy for Miracle there, just takes a little peek around that shower wall, gets himself one, and then hits the deck for the second to come in with the big pump of the shotgun and closes down TSM. Still struggling to get themselves into this one on Clubhouse. FURIA cruising here, 6-3 map point, and they're looking to take us to that chalet decider, and I'll be honest, I think everybody at home, just like us, really wants that chalet decider.
Chalet is my favourite map at the minute.
Overtime on Chalet! Overtime on Chalet! That's what we want!
We'll take a 3-map stinger to come to the end of the leg. Look back at SSG yesterday, right?
But we need NA versus Latam. It's all written, Des. It's all there.
It's where the fun is at. Chalet hasn't been a massive favourite map of TSM's, mind you. They beat Xset there, they played against a team in the quals, but they do ban it away a lot along the journey too. Now, I know that you'll always say to me, and everyone says this about Coastline as well, is don't take Latam teams to Chalet. What are your general thoughts on FURIA on that map?
I think it'll be a good map for FURIA, given that it's quite new and that TSM don't play it an awful lot. FURIA are a team that have got a lot of options in the strat book. You know, they always come and they always have a new idea, they always have something different to do, and I think Chalet is the sort of map that you can play like that on. You know, there is multiple options to do things. It's not their best map, but I think that they could be dangerous on there.
I mean, opponents ban it away against them a lot, so they're clearly fearful of what they can achieve on the map, so we'll see what happens when we come into that. Let's see how things play out for now then. As it stands, we are indeed upstairs in Cash and CC once again. These final 3 minutes determine whether or not TSM get to keep this game going through to overtime or if FURIA close it out here and now.
Rare just setting himself up inside of logistics there. I'm not sure how long he's going to stick around. He's moved away for the time being. I think he was just trying to potentially challenge onto the hatch. He's just trying to lock down the whole west side. Lender's your man that's on Garage Catwalk. He's potentially going to have some company in a moment as we have the Maverick of Charla just moving towards there. Going to hit the drones for the time being. Also supported by Fantasy down in Lounge, a setup that we see much more commonly now. And Geo, once again, TSM were able to open up the walls very quickly last time around. They're going to do the same thing here, but it didn't really get them anywhere last time.
No, that's the problem, right? we spoke a bit about the kind of garage control that was double reinforced off by TSM for FURIA. I doubt they're all too fearful of how this round's going to play out, given, as you say, it didn't go too badly for them last time. There is no Jaeger on side, and it's one thing I've talked about them in this second half. They've rotated very comfortably between different setups where, you know, we've seen the Jaeger, the Wamai, and the Goyo as a collective. We've seen the Jaeger and the Goyo as isolated two, and now we're seeing the Wamai and the Goyo as an isolated two. So a number of changes coming in across for both teams as to what the lineup is, but always carrying that kind of hint of utility-based play.
Lender and Chala are going to come to blows very, very soon at this rate. There's the peak to start things off. Lender knows the man's there now, but here comes the rush in through the breach. Lender manages to shut Merc down through the soft wall, and that is why you leave that wall soft. Able to get himself a nice kill inside of sight. Lender still holding down Garage. Achieved, however, finds Fantasy, and that levels us up at 4 versus 4. We've got a minute left on the clock, and Miracle's looking. He was tempted to get aggressive there, but steps back. Bolo punishes Lender out on Garage. Catwalk, those angles work both ways, and he proves it nicely. That's going to give TSM some great access to sight, a man advantage. This one is definitely within reach for them.
Rare sat below with the C4 in hand, just kind of daring them to go for it, but the problem is Achieved is working his way in from stock, and I think Rare knows about this. He's holding the pixel angle. SMG not quite the best after the first shot. It does have a bit of a kick on it. It kicks like a mule. Can't find the closing kill on two of the players pushing through, but it does warn TSM that there is someone present as we get down towards these dying seconds now. 25 are left, and TSM are in a 4 versus 2.
Achieved has just completed a very important hunt there, taking Rare down, and that is going to signal to TSM that they are safe to go in and get this diffuser down. It's up to Gio to move forward from Garage Catwalk and do so. Achieved finds Miracle. He's moved in with the backstab, gets one, Bolo gets the other, and that's going to be TSM taking the attack on CCTV and Cash, but they've got 2 more rounds to find without a mistake yet if they want to win this in 2 maps.
It's a good round from TSM. Good pressure and control being taken, and I thought Rare might have a bit of an X factor for them as it went on, but as soon as they got control of Garage, 2 players swarmed their way through and started working their way north side from there. It started well, Lender getting the opening kill onto the Garage door, but again, TSM just investing more resources into a pretty key location. Next site is going to be back down in the basement that we've seen them go down to twice already. It went okay the first time and then didn't look so great the next. We'll see what they can do with it here.
Like you say, Church and Arsenal, a little bit of hit and miss for TSM. Great to start with, but then FURIA are able to lock it down.
The big fantasy 3K as well.
Sorry?
Big fantasy 3K.
It was a big fantasy 3K. I recall it was just basically getting kills left, right and centre.
Yeah.
Inside.
Just fantasy things.
Just fantasy things. Just kills left, right and centre inside of sight. I mean, he's had another reasonable map here, 9 and 6 he sits on. But what I like to see from the side of FURIA, Des, we spoke about all the teams before we came into this tournament, and I said, FURIA, they've got Fantasy who can go big. He needs the other 4 supporting him, and in BR6 particularly, that's been a little bit of a struggle. But look at those numbers, 9, 7, 8, 7, 8, very even. All of them pulling in the same direction, all of them doing great work, and that is why FURIA have been so difficult to play against here on Clubhouse.
We said a few times their journey is kind of Team 1 minus 12 months, because if you remember back to how we all viewed Team 1 at the start of last year, it was, you know, Alamo as the big star player. He was the guy that would carry you through, and the other 4 were kind of there as supporting acts, and over time they warmed into things more, got more comfortable in their roles and started delivering, and we've deliberated, when will that happen for FURIA? You know, Fantasy has always been the star player, but I'm starting to get a bit of a thing for Miracle. The man's been on fire the last couple of days. I'm really enjoying seeing him play in the supportive role. A great front man, a great one in the back line. The rest have then got to start to fill out the gaps in the middle.
Interesting use of those corner healing stations from Lender there. He's got 3 in pocket that he's just carrying around with him, Des, and he's just popping them down on the ground when he needs healing. We're going to have an opening kill this time. Bolo onto highs. We see the body tumbling in front of us. That's going to be the Malusi gone, and the FURIA roam starts to fall apart. And if we think back to the round on Church and Arsenal that TSM won on the attack, it was a great roam clearance that it followed. So if they can continue with this and find a few more bodies, it's going to do a job for them. Now then, Lender, he's just waiting for that cooldown on the corner station. He gets his heal again. He's back up to full health, but they are not up to full man count as Merc finds Fantasy, and that's now 5v3. And this is very reminiscent of round 7 when TSM were able to take the win. Des, TSM could bring it back within 1. We could be looking at a 6-5 here.
We could be looking at overtime if it carries on this way. Miracle finally getting a shutdown, but elsewhere achieved brings down Lender. So whilst they have fought back a little bit, it's still a 4 versus 2. It's the kind of scoreline or the kind of, I suppose, player count that you look at and say this should not lead to a thrown round. TSM should be able to close it out and force us all the way through to 12. When we were looking earlier on and saying, man, that should have been a 6-0 half for FURIA.
Really should. You know, particularly like you say, the Geo 1v3, you're really going to be looking back at that as a moment. If this goes to overtime, for example, you're going to be looking back at that and say, FURIA, you're going to be kicking yourselves. It's down to the 2 that are left on site. Miracle and Rare, they're up against 4 and they're up against the clock. There's still an age left, 50 seconds to go, and that is not ideal from Miracle. He steps into the line of sight of Merc and gives him a nice easy kill. When they had the relegation problems, and I was sort of saying, this team have got wins in them, I can feel it, I can see it. It was because so many of their losses were 7-5, were overtime losses. You know, it was just so common for them to get themselves to the finishing post and not get themselves over the line. Over the last year, they've dealt with that an awful lot, but it is still something that crops up from time to time, and I've got to say this is the case. You know, they came in to the second half, they were 4-2 up, it should have been more, but they've just let TSM back into it.
And we head down then for round 12 into the basement. A repeat of round 11, but not a repeat of composition. A number of changes coming in for FURIA, where to me at least, this is looking very dug in. They're playing behind a Jaeger. They've got the Kaid on side. They've got the Malusi. They've got the Mute. The Mute being the key one for me, because on the other side there is that Flores. We've talked about it a few times today, Tim. There are no shields for it to chew its way through. Well, there's the one out of the smoke, but there's no Goyo to have multiple shields spaced around. So I'm curious to see where those are going to be focused here, because they can get rid of things like the ADSs, like the Banshees, make life a little bit easier for TSM to work their way forward, and really the only impediment they'll meet will be those Mute Jammers themselves. The hatch here being electrified inside a Moto and the one inside a Kitchen, so with those 2 locked off, it's going to be a bit of work at TSM to get those open.
I've got a feeling that this map and this round is going to come down to a crazy last 20 seconds. I've just got a feeling that FURIA are going to play it a little bit coy at the beginning here, because they have struggled on the roam. TSM, I commented on it last round, they've had a couple of attacks here on Church and Arsenal where they have dealt with that roam game extremely well. They've given FURIA absolutely nowhere to go, and as you can see, FURIA are already sort of dipping themselves back towards site. They're not too keen on sticking around on those upper floors and trying to waste time. They're all back downstairs inside of the first minute. They've decided that guns on site is the way to go.
I'm not sure how I feel about that either. Like, we've seen some big 3Ks out of players like Fantasy. That said, a C4 coming out from Highs is going to connect onto Achieved. He's not dead and he's safe now that he's back on solid ground. So we'll find himself back on his feet, counting his lucky stars, no doubt, because a Pokeball might be enough to finish him off here. Looking towards you on that front Lender, or potentially the second C4 that can come out of Rare. Down to that 90-second mark here, and the hatches are still being worked on. Lender lurking below, just waiting for this to pop open, and Charla to misstep even the tiniest bit, but he's played it very sensibly and won't find himself going down.
Halfway through the round then, we see the Rotero drones going in, just looking to clear blue corridor out. Maybe it gives us a little bit of an insight into exactly how this late push is going to go down when we get to that stage. Charla's opening hatches. TSM should be well ahead of the game here. They've had plenty of time on this mid floor. Achieved has taken a little bit of damage. I say a little bit, he's taking about 80 health off him, and he's just still swinging away, opening things up.
Did catch him with that C4, yes. Putting quite low, back on his feet, of course. The other side you're looking towards, though, is that both of those Mavericks have been used to open up the 2 hatches down towards the south. On the other side of things, they put the exothermic on the floor next to the hatch, and the destruction radius then blows the hatch out as a result. You see this used sometimes on maps like Villa inside a study to open up the reinforced wall into games. You put it on the floor, opens up a nice Hibana-shaped hole off to the left, so haven't strictly got to pull it directly on the hatch, but you do, of course, risk getting it shot out through the soft floor. Good stuff so far by TSM, and you said it would all go crazy in the last 20, Tim. It looks like it's about to go crazy.
Olo starts us off with a kill onto Rare. Geo's getting the plant down. I'm not sure that FURIA can do anything about this, Des. All angles are covered, and all of a sudden they've come out with a great attack here, TSM. Fantasy Eyes, they managed to do something, but it feels like it's just a band-aid on a serious injury at this point. Geo gets the kill onto Lender Furia, it's 1v2, it's all down to Highs. He's going to move himself towards Astro Spot. Gio's watching it, he knows he's got his head glitch behind the bomb chassis. He's just waiting for the push, there it is, he dips away from the fight. Highs manages to get himself inside his sight, but shut down by Charla, who had the crossfire. And Des, we're going to overtime on Clubhouse.
It feels like a while since we said those words, Tim. Overtime for me and you. I'm ecstatic about it. Let's go. And like said, Furia are starting on the defense, and I was fearful of this. Both teams have taken a 4-2 attacking half, and TSM get 2 more swings of the bat on the attack. Not just that, but off the back of several successful attacks in a row. How many now? 3 back-to-back. They're at a spot where I'm thinking, okay, they can now go on to do this. They can win this next round. Maybe they'll lose on the defense, and then that next attacking round is going to be the one. Furia, no doubt, coming out of that first half thinking, man, again, we should have been 6-0, if not 5-1. It was 4-2. Okay, we can close this out on defense. They've shown that clearly they can't, and TSM have got all that momentum behind them.
Clinching games is a skill in itself. It's something that, you know, takes work, it takes practice, it's part of the mental game. Getting yourself over the finish line. You can win as many rounds as you like, but there's one that is always more important than the rest, and that is the map point. And Furia have been unable to just push themselves or throw themselves over the line, drag themselves, anything would have done for the Brazilian side. But no, TSM, they've had a firm grip on Furia's heels, and they've just been able to weigh them down, sandbag them enough to drag them back in and bring us now to a best of 3 overtime. It's going to be CCTV and Cash from Furia. Played it back in round 10, got the opening kill, but guess what, Des? It was a TSM win.
Off the back of an achieved 3K at that too. It's one of those you're looking at and just thinking, can Furia really hold on? The momentum, again with TSM, the performance on this site there with TSM. So it's about the changes. And you're seeing it in the comp coming out of Furia, right? It's no longer a aggressive, roaming, get out in the map course, trouble style setup. It's much more dug in. They've got the Goyo, they've got the Mute, they've got the Smoke, the Wamai to protect those shields again, dropping away to Jaeger. Malusi kind of filling in on that spot. So for TSM, they haven't got to worry too much about what's going on around the map. Sure, get some drones in to make sure Rare isn't being too cheeky, which he is right now towards bedroom. Once you've got that covered, all your focus and all your time and resources goes in towards the site. It's going to be Garage just a big focus, I think, because last time Lender got the opening kill from there onto the Garage door, but once he was shut down, 2 members of TSM burst up those stairs, and site was their sole focus.
TSM just look, honestly, like a bit of a different side compared to the one that we saw in the first 4 or 5 rounds, and they've really grown into this one. Look at that from Merc, shuts down Fantasy inside a lounge, catching him from the main door, telling him to have a little rest and putting him to sleep there. It's going to be Rare over on the bedroom side, just trying to hold down any potential construction push, but Furia, they just feel like they're grasping at straws a little bit. TSM again doing quick work. It's something that's been really sort of, characteristic of this attack of TSM has been the first 30 seconds. Both lower garage walls were breached. East wall was breached.
Oh
and we were barely into the round. Charlotte, Bolo, fine kills. Furia, they've lost their head, Des. It's falling apart. They just can't do anything right at this point. Miracle taking a difficult challenge with an SMG. You can't keep feeding Bolo on the rappel like that.
It very quickly fell to tatters for Furia as they tried to take gunfight after gunfight, but they have been torn asunder. TSM looking poised to close this one out. Miracle finding one. It's still got some cannons to play behind, but he knows that there are 4 of them squaring up. Both of them blown out now. He's going to have about 40 seconds to play with, in which he needs to hold back a TSM assault. They've got 2 in garage. 1 coming in near side on the breach. Gio is tucked in. He's going to have to swing with the shotgun, and there are 2 of them. 3 of them watching. They're ready. They get the shutout. TSM up to match and series point. Not a line that I thought I would have said 7 rounds ago.
TSM somehow have dragged themselves back and now find themselves in the lead for the first time on Clubhouse. This has been a fantastic performance from the North American side, and the resolve that we want to see out of that region, able to win the difficult games when they are really challenged and put backs to the wall, and they've shown us an ability to do that. Very impressive from TSM, and I'm sure a lot of teams in the competition are going to be paying close attention to this performance from them.
And look, there is the Panic Monty again. We saw it back on Villa coming out of Lender in round 7. Feels like it's going to be a thing. In fact, no, switched away. What are they stepping over to? Finka going to be what joins them. So now they've got 6 frag grenades to play behind. Iana, Maverick and the Finka coming in. That's a lot of tools, a lot of damage to play with, Tim. But is it going to be enough? Are they not going to be rattled after those 4 or 5 rounds in a row they've now lost? TSM go down to the basement. Geo once again stepping onto playing the castle. And blow your mind all the way back to, what was it? Was it round 3? Where he got a 1 versus 3? FURIA should have come to be had that round win, and we said at the time it may come back to haunt them. So far it is. They've got to get this round at least absolutely spot on, or TSM take it away from them. And that victory for FURIA against BDS yesterday, it starts to feel like a distant memory.
It definitely does haunt them. You know, the reality is they had a couple of map points. Map points that don't exist if you don't give Geo a 1v3. Yep. And, you know, gifting it to him is the only way to describe it realistically, unfortunately for FURIA. But they are still in this one, Des. They're on the attack. It was something that we saw TSM struggle to control. They're going to be going down to basement. If we have a look back at TSM's defences, they played Church 1, 2, 3 times and only won 1 of them. So, no, actually they won 2 of them. They got 2 wins on Church, so they managed to lock the basement down twice. This could be a difficult one for FURIA. They need to deal with Geo quickly this time.
You think it's the fact that they need to get off the board and just remove it?
He just wasted a lot of time, and there's no real reason for him to. Just get into strip, push him from both sides and clear him out.
Well, with the castle barricade on the main stairs, you've just seen Bolo go charging his way up top, not really out of worry of risk. Going to drop his way back down here. Imagine he's chucked himself down a goo mine or 2 and then bailed out of dodge, just littering them through the main hallway, all the way down the main stairs and waiting. And even Merc's looking to challenge up onto the front door. There is a man here, it's Fantasy. Can't find the shot, but by taking those shots, he gives himself away. A great nade over the top, not going to find Merc as he has got out of dodge, did not pause at the bar for a drink, has gone straight down the main stairs.
Like you say, Fantasy there, just giving Merc the opportunity to move away, taking the couple of shots, just announcing his presence. Lender's trying to get something going. He's got the angle all the way through to Moto from blue there, but don't know that Charlie's going to quite expose himself. The rotation's on the other side, so he's going to be able to move safely behind the generator. Needs to be careful he doesn't step too far across, though. There is one in oil pit as well. Charlie's just sort of dicing with death at the minute, but he's going to maintain his position for now. Nade comes in, so he has to push forward. He's getting aggressive. What a shot from Charlotte! Flicks across the head of Fantasy, and that is what TSM needed. Des, they've just hit the crest of the wave. The question is, can they surf it all the way to victory now?
Can they hold on without Fantasy has got to be the big question. TSM, this will be one of the reversals of the tournament if they can pull this one back. We're down to 60 seconds. FURIA have got to get a move on. They've got 2 hatches open. Kitchen still closed up. That's given the indication to TSM of where this attack might come from. Achieved is set up inside of dirt, so they know there's also no pressure coming from there. It's a good read. They know how to respond and be ready. Sharla, this is the round to go big. He's been quiet so far and found 2. Geo, you said they to having gone ace. He's now been removed from the picture. But 4 versus 3, and we're entering that final 30 seconds of the round.
Polo gets aggressive, just steps out into the corridor, onto the elbow, finds Rare, and it is all falling apart for FURIA. There's going to be big questions for them to ask in the post-mortem of this game, but Miracle manages to find Charlie, keeps things alive before being downed. Highs, it's all up to you in a 1 versus 3. It just feels like a question of who from TSM is going to find the final shot. It's going to be Merc as he finds the man in blue. TSM fight their way back from 4-2 down and what felt like utter domination in the first half from FURIA, but TSM, they prove that NA are here, they have arrived, and they are ready to play. They are nowhere near the airport, Des.